Imagine you're about to buy a brand new piece of equipment or hardware or machinery for your company. And you're doing your research, you've narrowed down your options, and there's two different brands you're looking at. Now, one is much lower cost, and the other is like much, much higher cost. But you want to do your due diligence because secretly you know that your CFO is going to be on your case if you don't. So you call around and you find out that the lower cost unit actually has more service issues, more downtime, higher maintenance costs. Now, the higher cost unit is the exact opposite. More reliable, less downtime, lower maintenance costs. So if you were looking to buy this unit today, and let's imagine that cash flow is not an issue and there's no tax incentives, the question is, do you make your decision based on the upfront costs or the total lifetime costs? The same decision is being made every single day in your company when it comes to lead generation and the sales funnel, whether we're aware of it or not. Because how we attract and how we find new business, how we work the leads, how we close those leads, the same decision has to be made. And here's why. Some leads have a much higher cost of acquisition, which means the money that we have to pay to be able to get the lead, work the lead, close the lead is much higher. Now, of this higher cost lead, some of them may be more valuable clients. They may spend more money with us. They may return more often. They may do more business with us or give us more referrals. Whereas on the other side, some leads are just much, much cheaper, but they may never come back. They may never return. They may never refer. And so just like the decision that we have to make when we're purchasing equipment, upfront costs versus total lifetime costs, we have to make the same decision about our lead sources and about the types of clients we're working with. Upfront costs, but this time, total lifetime returns. And that's exactly what we're going to explore with today's guest, Ben Legg. Now, he was a captain for the Royal Engineers in the British Army. He was the COO of Google Europe. He's lived in 9 countries, he's worked in 60, and he's reinvented multiple industries. Today, Ben is the CEO and co-founder of the Portfolio Collective. But the real reason I wanted Ben on, and what you'll hear more about in just a few seconds, is the real backstory. Because Ben wrote a book that changed my thinking about how marketing actually works. So much so that it actually shifted our entire approach at my strategic branding agency. And honestly, I believe every CEO and every business owner needs to know what Ben's about to share. So welcome to How to Sell More, the sales podcast for non-sales people, where each week we give a master class to help ambitious B2B leaders like you face the number one challenge every business owner struggles with, and that is growing revenue. I'm Mark Drager. Let's get into it. So Ben, you and I were chatting off camera, and for all of our listeners, I'm holding a book right now called Marketing for CEOs, which is a book that Ben wrote back in, 2015, 2016?
2015, 16, yeah.
And you and I met at an event in Toronto, a local area event for American Marketing Association, our Toronto chapter, because I was part of a program called Mentorship Exchange. And the idea was I, as a mid-level agency owner in my kind of late 30s, mid-30s, I had the chance to connect with someone who was in their 50s who had been running an agency for a long time. And for 8 or 9 months, they mentored me. And at the end of that mentorship program, you were brought in to speak. You were brought in to speak about your book, Marketing for CEOs, and some of the challenges that CEOs, CMOs, marketing managers face. And this was, I think, in 2017 or 18 at the time, like
probably
in
about
that
then, yeah.
world. Now, you handed me a copy of your book, but I actually bought a few more. And your book became the Bible for my agency because you broke down so much related to how funnels work, how data works, how attribution works, the difference between lifetime value of client versus cost of acquisition. And it's only 120 pages long.
It's
and yet,
what someone calls a JFK to LAX book. You can read it on a long flight kind of thing.
But the reason I'm mentioning all this is not because, listeners, I want you to think that this is a pitch for the book. If you want to read it, I highly recommend it. But it's because it's so rare for me to hear a speaker, to grab their book, and then now 5 or 6 years later, I reached out to you and said, I want you on the podcast because I want to hear what's changed since then, but also what is happening as we look into 2024 and 2025. And knowing you from the book, knowing you from your speaking, knowing your background as CEO of performance-based agencies, I was like, you are the perfect person to bring on. So thank you, Ben, for coming today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So we are going to actually dig into the idea of conversation marketing, which is around chatbots and around different ads. But before we do, can you help our listeners really understand the premise behind marketing for CEOs? Why did you write it? Is it still relevant today? And if anything has changed, what would that be?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. I'm an engineer. Engineers don't write books unless it's about engineering. So writing a book was not in my life plan. But yeah, back in 2015, I was running a company called Ad Knowledge, very big ad tech company, global ad tech company. And I had a lot of friends who were CEOs of other companies in other industries. And in 2015, totally unprompted by me, about 6 of them said, typically over a beer, some of the coffee, would say, Ben, I'm planning to fire my CMO. Can you help me find another one? I said, why are you asking me? I've never studied marketing. I've never been a CMO. I'm not a headhunter. And they said, well, the future of marketing is all about social media and data and technology. And you understand that, which I do. And they said, also, you hang out with CMOs. You must be able to work out who are the smart ones, who are the duds. I want one of the good ones. And I kind of got the logic as to why they asked me the question, but I didn't really know how to solve it. So I would normally waffle a bit about, what good marketing looked like, but without really being clear. And I hate waffling. So I started writing notes so that I thought if someone asked me the question again, I want to do a slightly better job. And my notes became quite big. But anyway, I was with CEO number 6. It was actually the CMO of AMC. They own all the cinemas in North America and films and other things. And I said, right, I'm not going to waffle. I'm going to help you by finding you a book about what marketing is becoming. So we went on Amazon and Google and stuff to try and find the right book, and we just couldn't find one. We could find a book on how to build a brand. We could find a book on how to get your website on page 1 of Google. So the tactics and the strategy, but nothing that said, with all of that change, what is marketing becoming? How do you do it well? And I just thought, okay, no one else has written it. I'll write it. And by then I had about 20 pages of notes that I'd been structuring with all these conversations about what I thought marketing was becoming. So at the time I had 2 CEO jobs, a global company and also an Asian company that we just bought. And I had worked with a ghostwriter, did the brain dump, gave him all my notes, and over a few months kind of wrote the book and then tested it with lots of CMOs, CEOs, CFOs. CFOs liked the book too. And the general idea of the book is to say which of the old frameworks are still relevant, maybe which are a bit dated, and what's the right mindset and framework to think about. And simplistically, the big transition in marketing over the last 10 years and the next 10 is going from mass marketing to mass personalization. So mass marketing meaning the old CPG way of doing things. You start with an insight, you turn it into a TV ad, you build the supporting assets around the TV ad, and you send the same thing to everyone. One day, maybe every single person on the planet will see a different ad from each brand based on your relationship with the brand, your past behavior, purchases, which bits of the website you may or may not have visited, what your price point is, get the right timing, et cetera, et cetera. And to do that well, clearly there's all sorts of things you need, like a great CRM system, et cetera. But you also need to understand the economics. And probably the heart of the book is the whole equation around customer lifetime value. To really do good personalization, you need to understand each consumer or a customer, whether a potential customer or existing one, and work out what's the best journey to take them on. How do you build awareness? So, by the way, things like the marketing funnel still exist, but how do you build awareness? How do you drive trial? How do you drive purchase, upsell, cross-sell, retention? How do you make them a passionate, brand ambassadors, etc.? If you lose them, how do you win them back? But basically, work out a journey for each person and then understand the economics of that journey. What does it cost you to build the brand and acquire them in the first place? Customer acquisition costs. What does it cost you to serve them, and how much money will you make along the way? That's customer lifetime value. So I'm sure many of your listeners will know the CAC versus LTV equation. It's a customer acquisition cost versus lifetime value. And that became the heart of the book. And the rest of the book was either explaining how the world was changing and why that equation made sense, or explaining the how-to. The most talked about bit, there was a chapter called Should I Fire My CMO? And the next chapter was, if you decided yes, here's how you hire another one.
Luckily, you don't have to fire CMOs because their tenure is down to like just 8 months these days.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it went too far. Maybe too many people read that chapter. But yeah, so that at the heart of it was work towards more and more personalized relationship management with every single customer and understand the economics of that journey so that you can effectively make sure it's a profitable relationship and you're not wasting money or burning cash.
Hold on. Before we get into what's changed, though, I do want to highlight a few things. So first, understanding that many businesses out there do not even measure cost of acquisition. They have no idea what it costs to acquire someone.
Yeah.
They don't consider lifetime value of client. They, frankly, I mean, a big part of our business at Sales Loop at our agency is customer journey mapping. You know, if people talk about quote unquote the funnel, but they really think of it from an advertising point of view as opposed to an actual, let's say, the buying journey, the onboarding journey, the delivery process, the post-delivery process, win backs for anyone who chooses to leave. Like the reason why over the last 2 years we've rebranded our agency as Sales Loop is because I've realized that this is in fact not a funnel. This is not a linear process. This is the opportunity for anyone who jettisons outside of the customer journey to bring them back in.
Absolutely.
You try and eke out, I don't want to say this, if you're a customer, I'm sorry, but to basically eke out, it costs so much money to acquire you. Every dollar we can get from you later will help cover and liquidate some of that cost of acquisition.
Yeah. So the first thing you said, that some companies don't do that, is crazy. Give me the names of their CEOs. I'll send them my book and tell them to read the chapter on Should I Fire My CMO?
No, they should hire us.
Yeah, there you go. Or you send them a copy of the book. But no, it is craacrazy. And clearly it's hard. I mean, no one's saying this is easy, but you've got to do it. And, most companies just start off doing it en masse. What does it cost on average to acquire customers? What's the lifetime value? Then start breaking it into big segments. It's like whether it's by demographic or whatever, or by first product bought, and you start working up 5 or 10 segments, and just keep getting better at segmenting until one day your segments are an individual. And no one's there yet, but we should all aspire to get there. And I think one day the best marketing companies will have customer journeys that are probably individualized or cohorts of 10 or something very, very precise.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. And the other thing that I want to, before we jump into what's changed perhaps over the last number of years, is you've hit on something that you mentioned has changed marketing, which is the idea of moving from mass to personalization. But I honestly feel that this has actually changed all Marcom in general. And I say that because like right now we're working on an engagement with a professional association who traditionally has basically posted all of their information. And if we think about a professional association or any kind of nonprofit or any kind of group, it's like, here's what's happening, here's what's happening, here's what's happening. And we have worked for the last year to shift them from what I call kind of this push approach of information to much more of an on-demand, tailored, user-generated approach. And the way I explained it to them is, Netflix only has one catalog of film and television. But the catalog, what I am shown and what my wife is shown is very different. And people will go, well, there's an algorithm and it's hard and it's expensive. And on a mass level, I mean, if we want to compete with Netflix, it is very large and expensive to be able to crack that type of algorithm. But on a small level, rather than think of content or marketing or communications or advertising as this is my campaign or this is the hierarchy of information, don't you know, members, that you go to this part of the website and then go from this part to this part to this part? Let's get rid of all of that. And let's think of every one of our assets, every one of our posts, all the communication that we need to do. Think of it as Netflix's catalog. And now based on user profiles or based on sections or like, why can't we serve the tailored information that people need, tailored for them on demand? Why can't we select at least some of this? We don't need the algorithm. And I think that's what you're talking about, is this move from, hey, we're going to put everything out there and hope and assume that people will find it, that people are going to understand it, that they're going to provide the context for it. Let's move to a much more personalized approach, because frankly, whether people, consumers or customers realize it or not, that's what every other area of their life has been moved to. So we need to follow suit as businesses, don't we?
Oh, 100%. I love that analogy. And you talked about sort of websites. I'd also argue, whether it's for your email marketing, your social media, whatever, can you effectively have different messages going to different people based on where they are in their journey with you as a brand? And that's where I think somewhere in the book I talked about the brain of the marketing system these days is the CRM system. It's knowing your customers and knowing them as individuals. How can you effectively say, for every single individual in your CRM system, and CRM ideally has your potential customers as well as your existing customers and your lapsed customers, who are these people? What's their relationship with my brand? What's their relationship with my competitors? What have they bought so far? What are the most likely things they'll buy next? What kind of media do they consume? What kind of messages work? What's their price point? What's the timing? What's the right time to get hold of them? And literally tailor it as if you are only talking to one person. That's the dream.
Moving right towards what's happening with conversational marketing these days and chatbots and other things. And before we get to that, though, I do want to let you finish. So what do you feel has changed since 2016, 17? And what are foundational truths that have not changed even today in 2024?
Yeah. So let's think about what's changed. Probably the biggest thing that's changed, obviously, all the rage right now is AI. And AI effectively starts automating stuff that used to have to be done by humans. A lot of it is actually helping us accelerate that journey towards mass personalization. Because if you think about it, I'll take a simple example. If you're an e-commerce company, trying to run an ad campaign, something that I know quite well, I've done a lot of it. It's hard as a human. Because you've got hundreds or thousands of SKUs. For each SKU, you've got dozens of images and videos. You've got product descriptions. You've got different variants of each product, different colors, whatever. You've got ratings, reviews. You've got different stock levels by geography, And you're supposed to run an ad campaign that serves the right ad to the right consumer with the right image and the right product, but only if it's in stock, and don't forget the discount. It's like, head explode. AI can do that stuff, or at least can do it better than humans. And that is a nice example of what some of the things AI can do. AI can tailor images based on knowledge about the individual. AI can just manage that mass of information, etc. So clearly AI is not perfect, but it's already heading in a good direction. So I think AI is a big change since I wrote the book. Another would just be, these days, almost all media is digital. 5 years ago, there was still a big chunk of non-digital, but as we know, linear TV is close to imploding, print is close to dead. Still be the odd thing, maybe outdoor, etc., that is a bit more mass marketing, but most of the old mass marketing channels are dead or very close to dead, and therefore most things going forward.
For certain industries, though, drive time radio, I hear, is still doing very, very well.
Yeah. And I'm not anti old school media or mass media, or whatever. I just think that if you just look at it, consumption of linear TV is down compared to video on demand, let's say. Like Amazon, 5 years ago, Amazon had no ads. Now it's the fourth biggest ads platform in the world. So I think that.
And let me tell you, sorry, Ben, that just fucking pisses me off like crazy. My wife and I have been watching Wheel of Time season 2. And the fact that ads come on and force us to watch something when I haven't been on an ad platform since 2011 just pisses me off. Like, to the point where I stopped watching it. I was like, what is going on here? I'm paying for access to this, and then you're going to serve me ads? I hate it.
So probably, possibly, clearly it's annoyed you, but they'll say, well, you can always pay the $3 or $4 a month extra, or whatever it is. But yes, clearly they got you used to a habit that suddenly has to change, or not change. You can go and find another platform with no ads. But if you think about Netflix did the other way around. They started with no ads and just kept putting the price up on that, and then bringing a cheaper tier that is ad supported. Amazon's got arguably a cheaper tier, it's Prime. And they said, right, everyone gets ads unless they pay the higher tier. So they're starting from different ends. Netflix started from the default of ad-free but high price, and Amazon started with the default of with ads but low price. I think Amazon will scale faster as an ads platform compared to Netflix on the back of that.
And so I did want to get to chatbots and what's happening. And because I think that this is the perfect next step in terms of what you've been talking about. We've been talking about leveraging data, leveraging customer journeys to be able to deliver the perfect message to the right person at the exact moment, so that way they take action. And obviously chat, AI, conversational marketing, it's like the most tailored approach. Like, if I could just go and have the right stuff served to me in the right order based on my own language, my own understanding, or what have you, I mean, what's better?
I agree. Maybe I'll start with a anecdote and then talk about the future. But I right now I quite like wine. I collect it, drink it, enjoy it, and like thinking about it. I buy all my wine right now in a relationship with a chatbot called Johnny, who is actually a chatbot. Now the founder of the company is actually called Johnny, but basically it's a chatbot. And To talk you through the journey, at some stage, about a year ago, maybe a bit more, I was I can't remember either Facebook or Instagram, saw an ad saying something like, great 95-point red wine. Normally, I live in London, £35. For you, only £22, whatever. It was a discount. Learn more. Clicked a button. It flipped me into WhatsApp, and I learned more. And it told me all about the wine. It said, "How many bottles do you want?" I clicked 6. It said, "Which credit card do you want?" Pulled up Apple Pay. Picked one. We've got this address on file. Is that correct? Yes. I just bought 6 bottles of wine. Then they popped up a survey in WhatsApp. Tell us more about your wines. What wines you like, price points, celebrations, when's your birthday? Is it with food, not with food? Really getting to know me. And then they started personalizing
getting to know you. Like they're hiding all of these consumer insight questions, just baked it right in there.
And it's just popped up, and they've just sold me something. I'm open to relationships. It's a passion subject, so great. So I tell them all about my needs, and then they start using that to sell to me. They now send me typically one offer a day through WhatsApp. Once a week, I'll buy stuff. If it's expensive, it's 1 bottle. If it's every day, maybe it's 6, whatever. And now and again, they'll sort of suggest things that maybe other people might like, etc. But bottom line is, I spent a few £1,000s on wine in a relationship with a chatbot that gives me better advice than I've ever had in a wine merchant. Now, that's just one anecdote, and not all verticals can do it. And it's unclear to me how much is a chatbot versus human, but I think it's mostly chatbot. But I guess this is just an example of the way I think the world is going, which is, and certainly if you reverse engineer what Facebook is thinking, they don't always say it out loud, but they want to give a chatbot to every single Meta advertiser to chat to customers in a way that's personalized by AI. So if you think about, come back to the customer journey and then superimpose, if you had a really good chatbot, what could they do? And let's just focus on WhatsApp because it's the biggest black. It could be Messenger, it could be text, could be any messaging service, and it could be voice or it could be written. But let's assume WhatsApp and text. If you're a brand, you've got a relationship with an individual, you can build your brand through WhatsApp. You can share videos, share experiences, etc. You can get to know customers with surveys. You can sell them stuff. You can cross-sell them stuff, upsell, etc. You can deal with customer service. You can deal with technical issues. You can anticipate churn. Let's say, I don't know, if it's software, you can see their usage has gone down. So you can have a churn reduction campaign. If they leave, you can try and persuade them to come back. If they love you, you can persuade them to tell a friend. All of that can be done in a messaging relationship that feels very personal. Now you start thinking about, what does that mean for the future? First of all, anyone that works in sales or customer service should be worried because there's a chatbot coming for your job. But if you're a marketer, wow, how good is your chatbot now? Is it going to stay ahead? Because if your chatbot isn't the best chatbot in your industry in the near future, your company might go bust because someone else will work it out. It's phenomenal. And then you need to work out, what do you build? What do you license? Do you need multiple chatbots or one? Does your chatbot need a brand and a personality? Does it need multiple brands and personalities? You have a chatbot called John and a chatbot called Mary because maybe men sell better to men and women to women, or vice versa. But your chatbot strategy is an essential part of success, but also conversely failure if you don't get it right. And this journey is moving fast. The chatbot technology has accelerated from virtually non-existent a year or 18 months ago to 3 out of 10 now. But give it 3 years, it'll be an 8 out of 10. And it's like, who's going to keep up with the journey?
What I love about this, a number of years ago, I think around the same time that I met you and I read the book, there was a website, a program or project that came out called The Grid. And the idea was that it would write all of the copy. It would wireframe everything. It would develop all the photos, all the CTAs. It would basically develop the entire website. And then in real time, through AI, it would completely change based off of conversion paths. And I remember seeing this, I think in 2015 or 16, and going, oh, fuck. Like, I've built a multi-million-dollar production-based, people-driven hourly company. And at the time, Facebook was talking about the fact that, and Google were talking about the fact that you could use responsive ads and it's going to do all the editing and it's going to take care of everything. I was like, okay, not only is our world commoditizing, at least on my end, but we are not far away from where we can leverage enough data to be able to take care of some of this stuff. And similarly, what you're talking about, which is something that I'm excited about, is it moves the customer experience from a landing page, which is a service we offer for people. But I know as a strategist, I know how much time and effort and how many conversations and how much work goes into picking, like, think about a landing page. What should the H1 be and what should the H2 be? And should we have a video or not a video? Should it be above the fold or below the fold? Where does social proof go? How many CTAs do we do? Is it a 3-point form or a 1-point form? Like all of the decisions that go into conversion rate optimization is frankly like a lot of part science, part art, part like, I think this is the best thing we should do.
Yeah.
But what you're suggesting is going to move us away from that, where there's going to be basically a field, a branded field or something where I can have a conversation. There's going to be a collection of assets. And those assets will be pulled off the shelf and served in the right order at the right time. And ideally would even be manipulated by AI in the right
totally.
at the right time.
Yeah,
and it's going to put me out of business.
Well, so yes, absolutely. And if you look at the way, for example, Google's ads machine or Meta's ads machine is working, they just say, upload your assets, tell us your goals, we'll do the rest for you. And assets, just for those who are maybe listening don't know, is like images, videos, text, calls to action. They'll also say, give me the URL if you want traffic to, and they'll just crawl that page and work out what you sell better than you will. And they don't even need keywords anymore. They'll go and work out the keywords based on crawling your site. And then they'll say, well, if the assets aren't good enough, we'll either fix them or make some new ones. So if you upload a bunch of static images but no video, they'll make a video out of your static images. If you upload images that are grainy or weird, they'll trim them or tweak them. Or you just put in some descriptions of some images you like, they'll make them for you. So that's the direction they're going. And so coming back to, if you're an agency, how do you survive? You're probably helping your clients get the most out of those AI machines rather than trying to beat the AI. And to be frank, that's almost like
what we're doing is we're helping people not only with a strategy, but developing IP. And what we've seen within entertainment, what we've seen within other places, there's been a huge push for intellectual property. And so, if you're a B2B business, if you're a professional services firm, if you're in any of that space, then your people and your culture and your thinking and your processes and your approach and all of the stuff that makes you and very different from your competitor on the street, sitting in there is like, it's like magic. It's like positioning, it's offers, it's IP. And if we can build IP, then that IP can be turned into the assets that AI can just go ahead and run with.
Absolutely.
I think that's if I'm giving away the secrets for where our future is going as an agency partner, I got to believe it's going to be on strategy and IP, because who's going to pay for assets when they could just be mass produced? Yeah,
I agree. Now there might be an area of integration, like you might make a case that a brand strategy still needs some humans, although you'll probably tell me, no, there's some AI doing that too.
I think it depends on where AI is going.
Yeah. But certainly I think if just thinking aloud, if I was building or running an agency now, I'd be very tempted to move into the chatbot world. Even though there's loads of AI, I think there's still a lot of thinking to get the most out of the AI, to work out what do you do yourself? What does the AI do? Whose AI do you use? How much should the AI be one character or multiple characters? How does the AI interact with the CRM? How do you gather more data and use it? I think that's a multi-year journey before AI can do all of that. But AI can probably do 30% now, and in 3 years' time could be 60%. But I think there's still a lot of hard work required to make that work.
Well, and I agree. And if you're on the client side listening to this, if you're marketing or business development or owner, operator, CEO, what have you, you're only going to have so many team members, and they are not typically on the client side going to be specialists in all of these fields. So now it comes down to finding those who's. And I believe that with how complex every aspect of advertising, marketing, communication, sales, client relationships, the difference between the creative and the strategy and the business strategy and the technology, I think anyone who's working with a generalist is wasting their time and money. Because, I was in an event 2 weeks ago where someone was just talking, they did a 3-hour masterclass just on email marketing. And I think that I'm pretty up to date with what's happening with email marketing. And then I sat in on this and I realized I don't know anything about email marketing compared to just, and I even said to the person who was running it, I said, listen, I was thinking coming into this, I need to learn this. And then after hearing you for 3 hours, I realized if I spent all day, every day for the next 90 days trying to learn what you've learned, I might be able to keep up. But as soon as I take my eyes off the ball, the world will keep moving.
Has moved on again. Yeah.
And think about how many different aspects there are. Like if we go back to just the different parts of your book, the different parts of your funnel, the different things we've been talking today, I can't imagine trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And if anyone can, it's the CMO's job, not the agency's job. The generalist should sit at that. I own the brand, I own the marketing strategy. But then, you're right. When you're working with others, you work with the specialists, and collectively it comes together at the CMO level, really.
This has been so much fun connecting with you. Ben, I do appreciate your time. And if anyone wants to pick up Marketing for CEOs, Death or Glory in the Digital Age, I will say it's just as relevant today as it's ever been. But before we sign off, I do want to ask you a question that I love throwing at people at the end, which is, if you had to give one strategy or one tip to help our listeners sell more, what would that be?
It's the rubbish in, rubbish out. If you don't know them, you're always going to fail. So just, and do it on a personal level, not as a blob, but as an individual.
Hey there, it's Mark. Before we wrap up, I just want to say I so appreciate having been on the podcast. And for you, if you're listening right now, and if you really love the talk that Ben and I had, I just want to point out that my strategic branding agency, Sales Loop, we help B2B business owners develop sound strategies and action plans to meet the types of challenges that Ben and I were speaking about, ultimately to be able to help you sell more. So if you're listening right now and you're interested in attracting or closing more high-value clients, or staying top of mind and in front of your current clients, or if you want to become the credible market leader in your space, go over to LinkedIn, connect with me, Mark Drager, send me a message, and we will set up a call. Okay, so that was the conversation, though, I had with Ben Legg. To wrap up, I'm going to share my 3 biggest takeaways from this talk. Number 1, there has been a shift for many, many years now, but the shift is from mass marketing to mass personalization. Personalization, segmentation, knowing who is who, where they are, and what you need to say to them. Again, the very thing that my agency helps business owners with is key to success in marketing. Number 2, to be able to pull this off, though, you have to understand your customers. You have to know what they like, what they hate, what they fear, what they desire, status quo, the risks for change, everything about their mindset, everything about their business. You must understand them better than they understand themselves. And once you understand that, you can actually start to plot out your customer journey, mapping out each point of their buying cycle, their using cycle, their coming back cycle, their referral cycle, whatever it might be. And number 3, if we're not ready yet for AI to completely change every aspect of how we do business, that's okay. Early adopters are freaking out about it. But I will suggest over the next year, 2 or 3, this is going to become very commonplace, the way that social media, I was back working for an internet marketing company back in 2006 and 2007. And when social media showed up in all of the marketers and everyone was on it, and it took a little while for most people to come around, but businesses did. We adopted. And the same thing is going to happen with chatbots, with AI, with personalization, with other things. We're about to go through a massive, massive shift. And either you're going to come out on the other side stronger because you will have taken action and your competition won't have, or you will come out on the other side dead. Can I say that? I'm going to say that. You're going to come out on the other side in a much worse position. So start paying attention. Now, there you have it. Those were my 3 biggest takeaways from this talk. But I'm always curious, and I love finding out what yours were. Anything here challenge your perspective? Let's go ahead and dive deeper over on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. I even share more insights, and I love to spark a conversation over there. So I am Mark Drager. You can find my contact details in the episode show notes. And while you're over there on LinkedIn, be sure to give Ben Legg a follow for more strategic and actionable content. And if you want, you can check out his website. It's portfolio-collective.com. And I highly recommend picking up a copy of his book, Marketing for CEOs, Death or Glory in the Digital Age. One last thing, if you've made it this far into the show, you really should subscribe. And here's why. Obviously, you're an ambitious B2B leader. You're hungry for even more actionable strategies. You want to grow your business. You want to boost sales. You want to prepare yourself for an exit. That's why you should subscribe. Or maybe you're just a professional procrastinator who's putting off subscribing to the very last second. And if that's the case, I see you. Go ahead and give me a subscribe. Either way, I am Mark Drager, and I will catch you in the next episode.